that step.
Over the hills, up the mountain, to the top, taking a step. No more spills from the fountain, we won't stop, taking a step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Made it this far, we have to keep on, no one will stop us, taking a step. Flying to that stop, singing our song, sweep away the dust, taking a step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Higher heights, moving on, stepping on, taking that step. Keep on, moving on, stepping up, taking that steps. We will continue to take that step.
Over the moon,
Continue.
we will continue
To take that step.
We're gonna have fun. We will continue to take
Taking that step.
Feeling brand new, getting it done. We will continue to
Taking that step.
Taking a step.
Taking that step.
Taking a step. Take that step.
Over the hills, up the mountain, to the top, taking a step. No more spills from the fountain, we won't stop, taking a step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Made it this far, we have to keep on, no one will stop us, taking a step. Flying to that stop, singing our song, sweep away the dust, taking a step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Higher heights, moving on, stepping on, taking that step. Keep on, moving on, stepping up, taking that steps. We will continue to take that step.
Over the moon,
Continue.
we will continue
To take that step.
We're gonna have fun. We will continue to
Taking that step.
Feeling brand new, getting it done. We will continue to
Taking that step.
Taking a step.
Taking that step.
Taking a step.
Taking that step. Peace and blessings. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, and welcome back. I'd like you to put an N in the chat for new. If you are new to our webinar, our classes, you just found out about this, you're just discovering what's going on here. And I'd like you to put a 1 in the chat if this is your first class with Shechem, Un Nefer Amen, our special guest for tonight on the Kamitic Legacy digital media platform. Well, we took a step last night. We took an amazing step. All right, peace, Randolph and Chas, Kristen and Donovan. All right, Sybil, good to see you. First time. And Marquise is here. Hetru is here. Beautiful. Welcome. And yes, William, Emmanuel. We sent you a notice. Maybe it got caught up in the email. But good news. The recording is already posted. So what are we talking about? Last night, we had this awesome class. It's called Maat, the 11 Laws of Health, Wealth, and Success. It's an on-demand course. It is the creation of one of the greatest spiritual leaders of our time, Un Nefer Amen. He's the author of the 7-volume Metu Neter series that I'm sure you have seen around. Also some 33 or 4 other books that he's produced and over 100 musical compositions that deal with meditation and awakening the various powers of your spirit. And he has created this course. It has some 7 tracks on each module that guides you through the process of understanding Kamitic meditation. It teaches you about words of power, how to go into the alpha brainwave states or the meditation state, how to deliberately do that, and how to use that state to inculcate the universal laws, specifically the 11 laws that make up what we call Maat in the ancient Egyptian or Kamitic system, and how to work that into a meditation script. Very powerful class. But on top of all that, we get personal guided instruction with him, one-on-one. So we had our first one last night. And I just want to let you know, if you didn't happen to get into the room, I know there was only about maybe a half of our students made it, but we have people all over the world, people on different time zones and so forth. So when you go into the 4 powers of the divine spirit, which is the foundational module of this course, right? When you buy the full course, you'll get 3 groups. The first one is called the 4 powers of the divine spirit, or you can start with that. And inside there, you'll notice that the very first track now, there it is. Hopefully you can see that. Can we make it bigger? Yeah, there we go. The very first track is the course member webinar number 1. So you didn't miss anything. We got it all recorded up there for you. You can go in there on demand. And really, you got to do that because the material is so dense. It is so powerful. You know, you got to hear it 3-4 times to be like, wow, you know, to really get it. So, William, we got you covered. The information is right there for you. And that's what we're going to do with every one of our course member webinars. Of course, you got to be a course member. So you have to buy the 4 powers of your divine spirit to be a member of the course, or you buy the complete Paut Neteru, and you will find it. Your information will be constantly updating. So this is a class. It's an experience that keeps growing and growing and building and building. And just to catch you up, last night we got a homework assignment. Okay, this is for real. You know, this is not just talk. This is application, which is so critical. You know, we could talk about spirituality. We can learn all kind of wonderful things about the emerald tablets and the laws and the powers of the different, you know, angels and all of this. But if it doesn't take residence in our everyday practice, it's like watching Bruce Lee. Well, Bruce Lee, that's old school. You younger people, Jet Li, right? Or Donnie Yen, right? Ip Man. You're watching the movies and you think that you can fight, you know? It's not going to work like that. You're going to have to train. You're going to have to train and train hard. And nothing is more powerful than training for spiritual development, spiritual growth. And tonight is going to be special, especially for you old school people. If you're old school, I want you to put old school in the chat for me. Oh, but by old school, I mean you remember when we started out decades ago with being introduced to powerful breathing techniques, you know, like Nadi Shuddhi and pranayama. You're going to learn about Zazen tonight, and some of you did this Musogi breathing, and well, we used to spend hours and hours just doing these breathing, and some of us still do, you know. But it changed our lives. It just removed illness and weakness and confusion. It helped us to rebuild ourselves from the abuses that we might have put on ourselves and all that. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I wanted to let you know Yeah, I want to see the old school people. Put it in there. If you're in the house, I know you. All right. Kiana, you old school? Okay. I know Odat Shemsuit Maat knows what I'm talking about. They go hard in DC. They still do that. Sometimes they do an hour and a half, 2 hours of pranayama before PNM, right? We're going to have some of those old school soldiers with us at the Atefu conference. Now, what's on your screen is the indication here of inside your Soundwise, you have a attachment. When you click on that attachment, then you can see these documents. And tonight you're going to get some understanding of this Zazen technique. And I want you to know that there's a Zazen track that you can purchase for just $10. And it has the documentation of exactly how to do this, this breathing that you'll learn about tonight. But getting ahead of myself, our homework from last night was to start to work on our meditation script, right? Very powerful, very unique Kamitic meditation script. It brings everything together. And the instructions to do that, I put a few quick notes on what was said last night in your documents section, but then we have the actual assignment that's part of your course. And you get to that by hitting the attachment button, right? You can see it here in your Soundwise app. If you want to print it out, you can go to Soundwise on your desktop, and then you log in the same way, right? When you pay for your course is available on, on your mobile device, and it's available through the internet on a desktop, laptop, whatever. So you go in there, and then you can print this actually out, right? So that information is there. So make sure you do your homework. If you're new here, you're excited, then get on our landing page. I'll put the information in the chat here, and you can get your course tonight, and you can go in there and get your homework assignment. You can get yourself ready, because next Monday, we're going to have session number 2. So this is a dream come true for a lot of you, right? A lot of you, Shechem, and rightfully so, is like a legend. You haven't even had a chance to meet him in person. Well, now you get to sit with him right now on a weekly basis in these classes. So your course member webinar number 1 is already loaded. It's inside your Soundwise app. So you didn't miss out on anything. And I want to also take a moment to let you know that we have opened up, we're selling tickets for our 8th annual Atefu conference in Philadelphia. It's going to be a hybrid event. It's going to be virtual and in person. And part of that event is going to deal with, your raw force, your life force, and the things that we'll be discussing tonight. So if you are in the Pennsylvania area or East Coast or anywhere, or just have the ability to get here, and you become intrigued, and you really start to practice these breathing techniques, and you want to be around some people that are experienced in it and get some hands-on instruction and help, make sure you make it out to the event. That is the Memorial Day weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So with that said, we are going to get ready. And again, welcome. I see a lot of new people. Welcome. So Un Nefer Amen. Un Nefer Amen is a spiritual leader. He's a founder of the Asara Set Society, which is a Pan-African spiritual organization founded in 1973. It was built, it was founded, it was built, and it was nurtured through his 50 years of service, teaching classes in the community, doing counseling, conducting ceremonies, right? But most importantly, teaching classes in multiple cities. And when he started out, there was no Zoom. He used to, in one weekend go to 3 different cities and teach classes. That's how we got started. And all these classes were taught on a free will donation basis. He didn't do this for the money. In fact, he turned his back on other career opportunities that he had, and dedicated himself to the spiritual upliftment of our people and the world through the spiritual upliftment of our people, restoring us back to our ancestral greatness. And as I said in the last webinar, he made the statement back then that if, we're studying ancient history and Kemet and things like that, and people might be like, well, what's the relevance of that? Yeah, what is the relevance of that right now in this murder and mayhem and craziness that's going on, particularly in our community and all throughout the world when you really look at it? The relevance of it is that we need a cultural revolution. We need a spiritual revolution. We need to get back to the ways of life, to the cultivation of our higher virtues, of our higher self, that enabled us to build great civilizations, because we need to rebuild civilization all over again. I think you'll agree with that. So he built this society through 50 years of I won't say blood, sweat, and tears, because I'm sure he would say it was a labor of love, and we feel that, and we really appreciate him for that. And through that process of healing us, of taking us out of, we were, different ages, but a lot of us were young. A lot of us were, we had dabbled in different aspects of Western way of life, and, damaged our life force, corrupted our minds. And we went through a rigorous program of self-cultivation. And it had to do with cultivation of the mind and the body. It was everything from our diet, nutrition, the herbs, the homeopathic remedies, using, moxon, acupuncture. I mean, it was a world tour de force of technique to repair us. And central to that was breathing exercises that we were taught, that we learned. And that's the subject that we're going to talk about tonight. So welcome. And it is my pleasure at this moment to bring back to us Un Nefer Amen, the Shechem of the Asaraset Society, spiritual leader and course creator of Maat 11 Laws of Health, Wealth, and Success. And we greet you, sir, with the ancient African words of power, peace, and blessings. Anecharak, Shechem Round Nefer Amen.
Haragatebu. Greet you back with the ancient words of power.
Thank you so much.
Egypt.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you so much for that wonderful, little historical background of what we've been doing. I'm going to put into perspective tonight's, lecture. So I want to say hotep to all our people in the audience tonight. We thank you for putting aside, taking time out of your busy day. This is the beginning of the week. We have much more work before, TGA comes and TGF, right? Thank God it's Friday. Yet you're here. Blessed be. Yes, sir. So for some of you, if my voice sounds a little different, I have a little cough. Overdid it in the pollen this week. The nice hot weather came back, so I spent a lot of time outdoors. So a little pollen thing going on. But I have a little cup here full with manuka honey and lemon.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the throat lubricated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So let's begin, family. And we say breathing, you see, but let's use the Latin word. Respiratory system, respiration. Spanish would say respirando. Respirating. When you look at the word to respirate, you find that the word spirit is hidden inside there. You see that? Okay? And anybody who is, filled with the practical knowledge of spirituality knows that breathing is the center and the key to spirituality, to cultivating spirituality. If you want for the spiritual words to become flesh, to become a part of you, you're going to have to learn how to breathe, how to respirate. You see that? Okay? And when we study the body, the physical body and the psyche, you will find that all of your body's functions are either voluntary or automatic. Then voluntary or involuntary or voluntary. You see that? Except one. You see? Let's my hands. It's voluntary. I can move it any way I want to. I can keep it still, I can move them fast, very slowly. And many other parts of my body, I have control over those activities through my will and my mind. You see that? But then when it comes to the blood pressure, circulating the blood, you see, digestion of food and things of that nature, repair of the body, those things happen involuntarily. So all of our bodily functions are either voluntary or involuntary, save one of them. And that's the breathing system, the respiratory system. You see that when we're not thinking about it, we are breathing involuntarily. You see that? It goes on, but I have to directly think about it and so on. But we can hold the breath. We can speed it up. We can slow it down. So that makes breathing the bridge between volition and involuntary functions.
Mm-hmm.
You see that? It is the hub between the two. So if I want to be able to control involuntary functions like, blood pressure and things of that nature, I do it through the breathing. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
The breathing gives me access to the within, the deep within. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the technique for going deep within, we call it meditation. You see? And to lots of people, meditation is just simply, sitting down quiet, ignoring thoughts, and things of that nature, to relax ourselves and so on, not understanding that they're only using 5% of the power of a great tool. You see that? In this Western world, we have been impressed with the importance of learning to, to conjugate words and parse words into poems and essays and, and lectures, novels and so on. We learn how to, the different mathematical, functions and processes and procedures. We learn how to, program computers. And the way that is going, pretty soon the computer is going to start programming people.
Programming us.
If they don't get a hold of this AI thing, so those AI programs are going to be telling people off, calling them idiots. Sorry. So the whole thing is, we have to understand, we have to elevate the position of breathing, the position of meditation, in order to really understand it and take full advantage of it. You see that? If you go on the internet and Google or Bing the word meditation, you will come across statements that, meditation, especially what is devoted, called mindfulness meditation, enable people to grow more, gray matter, white matter cells in their brain, and things of that nature. Something that was thought at one time thought to be impossible. They thought that you were born with all the brain cells that uh, you you can have. So good news, you can grow more cells, become smarter. You see that? So the whole thing is when you read those articles, there's a striking statement that the scientists who've been studying meditation, they will tell you they don't know how meditation heals, how meditation does those things. We see that. But the truth is that there are people who know, have known for the longest time. We see that. And the answer is a common joke about meditation. People who like to make fun at meditation, they say, oh, meditation is a process of somebody sitting down, watching their belly button. You see that? Not understanding that that joke, you see, covers a great wisdom. You see that? What's behind your belly button? You see that? Is in that area, a little above and beyond and surrounding the belly button, the navel. You see that? Which is considered the the equatorial center of the body. If you're into, psychical, geometry, you see, and it hides that belly button hides a function that in Japanese, medicine called, the Japanese version of Chinese medicine called Kempo. They call that structure beneath and beyond your navel the Hara, 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 and which ties into the etymology of the Ra force. You see that? What we call Ra, they call Hara, that center there. The Chinese call it, the Tantien, the lower Tantien, the lower, burner of the triple burners, the triple warmers, and so on. You see that? And so the thing is that if you are meditating, doing Qigong, Tai Chi, martial arts, anything that requires, concentration, anything, you're playing football and you got to summon strength, and playing basketball and you got to summon that rapid, flexible movement. You see that? If you're not engaging, the Hara or the Tantien, which in Western medicine is called the vagus nerve, the function of the vagus nerve, then you are not getting the best that meditation and exercise and martial arts can do for you. You see, I see a lot of people doing, Qigong movements and Tai Chi movements, and they ignore this Hara, this vagus nerve. You see that? You see? And the thing is that, meditation heals. Meditation develops, the brain, the nervous system. It repairs the whole body through the activities of the Hara, the Tantien, the lower Tantien, or the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the largest nerve. You see that in the body. And the most important, you see, when you engage it, it sends energy to certain critical parts of the brain, especially the waking centers of the brain, which, play, a global, an extremely important function in spirituality. You see that? Okay. There is a chapter in one of the most illustrious books out of ancient Egypt. People call the book the Book of the Dead. You see that? It's not the Book of the Dead. That's the name that the Arabs gave to it. The so-called Egyptians of today. Other people call it the Pertem Heru, becoming awake. You see that? Awakening is the most important thing in spirituality, becoming fully awakened. Meaning, when you're fully awakened, you have full use of the will. When you're awake and when you are in the meditation state. Because when you're in the meditation state, fully awake, you are able to direct your psyche and your mind to heal you and to change your physical and social environment. You see that? Meaning, by your social environment, I mean to change things on your job, the school, your performance, people around you, how people relate to you. And of course, you're going to do this in a legitimate, loving, win-win manner. You see that? You got to learn the rules of using the powers of your will and the powers of the spirit once you learn to awaken and improve them. So you are going to, the goal of meditation properly done then is to become a fully awakened being, meaning we call it Heru. You see that? The fully awakened being. You see that? Because the meditation techniques, you see, where you stimulate the vagus nerve, there's a sense, electromagnetic energy to the waking centers of the brain. You see that? Okay, why you want to do this? Because when you meditate, you are, sorry, when you meditate, you're slowing down the rate of frequencies in the brain. When you wake, like right now, okay, if you don't have ADD, your brain is oscillating at about 23 beats per second. You see that when you slow down your breathing and deepen it, and begin to ignore, thoughts coming in. Don't try to stop them. You will lose, but you can ignore them. You see that. But when you are ignoring thoughts and when you are slowing down your breathing and making it, deep from the lower abdomen, which is the way you must meditate. You should breathe when you meditate. When you do those things, you also trigger the sleep mechanism within you. And the essence of meditation is to remain awake when the rest of your brain goes to sleep. You see that? So now you're able to direct your dreams in that state. Sorry. You have daydreams, night dreams, sleep dreams, and you have dreams also in the meditation state. The yogis call it dhyana, Dhyana, dhyana. You see that? Meaning that you are just like you're dreaming at night, with the only difference that now you can direct, the dream process. And those are the dreams that become reality if you know how to cultivate them properly and so on. You see that? So that is one of the most important things about meditation. It enables you to be successful. You see that? I can visualize, my person, let's say, getting straight A's in school. We have had students who have done that. They meditated, on getting straight A's in school, and they got straight A's for years. They went from B minus, B plus students, some from C plus students to straight A students year after year. You see that? That's making your dreams come true. You see that? That is directing your psyche and your mind. You see, exalting the psyche and the mind by slowing down the breathing process, and then now directing the function of the mind and the psyche. You see that? So this is wonderful thing to learn. Most important thing to learn. When you go to school, they are pouring information into your brain. They're not teaching you anything to make better use of the brain. You see, they're pouring data in your brain and formulas. You see that? You learn what this number is, what this combination of numbers is, and then you learn to manipulate the numbers. But that doesn't make you smarter. What makes you smarter is raising your wakefulness. It makes you more aware. It helps you to catch relationships, deeper, faster. You see that? Able to see things that others don't see. You see that? You become visionary. You see what I'm talking about here? So, this is how Western, well, not only Western, but all the leading cultures of the world since the fall of ancient Egypt have perverted and made the world a lot backward. where, bright people are taken and they just simply fed information, and formulas to handle information, but they do nothing to cultivate the faculties that's supposed to handle that information, which is your brain and your psyche. You see that? So, along with breathing in a certain way, which we'll talk about a little later. Okay, you also help the brain and the rest of your body by increasing the amount of oxygen you take in and the amount of carbon dioxide that you get rid of. You see, let me give you a little, science here, if you don't mind. You know, our lungs, and the lungs of a healthy person, has the capacity to take in about 5,700 milliliters of air. Okay, that's a lot. Normally, we only when we are going about our business, sitting down, just walking, not engaging in any strange activity, which is how we spend most of our day. Okay, we are taking in 500 milliliters of air, you see, per breath, as opposed to the 5,700 milliliters capacity. So we're taking in, in a normal day, if you don't exercise or whatever, you are taking in most of the day, you see, less than 10% of your full capacity to imbibe oxygen. Now, let's recall something that we all know. You can go many, many days without water. You can go many days without food. How long can you go without oxygen? You see, the fact that you can't go too long without oxygen tells you how important oxygen is. It's the most important thing that you need to take into your body. You see that? Yeah. But the average person pays more attention to getting more calories and sweets and vitamins and minerals, and those things and medicines than they pay attention. They don't pursue the knowledge of getting more oxygen. Okay? Common sense will tell you that if you cannot live more than a few minutes before you go brain dead, despite the fact that many of us are already brain dead, living zombies. So the thing is, you have to understand the importance of oxygen. Okay, I'm going to give you a little assignment. Okay, go to the University of Google or Bing or iTunes and research all you can on the benefits of oxygen. Is there more benefits of getting more oxygen or lots of oxygen? You see that. You see the fact that you may have some device that tells you that your oxygenation is 100%. It's not the full story. You see that. Okay, because it's telling you how much oxygen there is in the blood, not how much oxygen there is in all the cells and tissues in your body, including your nervous, your nerve cells and your brain cells and so forth. That does not register, on that machine, those devices that count, your oxygen level. You see that. So we're not talking about that. You see, when you meditate properly, breathing in deeply from the lower abdomen and so on, you now increase your breath rate from your breath volume from 500 milliliters to about 1,700 milliliters, or shall we say about some 29 to 30% of your capacity. You see that? So, and that is a good, what's that? Tripling, quadrupling of the amount of oxygen you take in on a normal day, and so forth. Now, let's say you spend an hour exercising, doing calisthenics and lifting weights or whatever. You might think that, okay, the amount of oxygen that I get by running around the track and so forth will compensate, will compensate me, but it won't, because most of the oxygen is going to the to the part of the body that is involved in external activity. That's why meditation, which is quiet, Tai Chi, which is quiet movement. You see that? Okay, where you're not using or straining the musculature, the outside musculature of the body, that allows most of that excess oxygen you're taking in to go to the vital organs, to the liver, the kidney, the brain, the prefrontal lobe, and things of that nature. That's where so when you hear about Qigong and Tai Chi and meditation, they are quite different from, calisthenics and cardiovascular exercises and things of that nature. It's a whole different paradigm. So don't think that if you are doing all these calisthenics and, cardiovasculars and strength exercises, that, you are replacing the need for meditation and Qigong and Tai Chi and things of that nature. Okay, this is something that we have to understand and take very seriously. Let's say that. Okay, yes, you can live on 500 milliliters, of oxygen, every breath, 4 or 5 seconds or so. Okay, but the quality of your life would change tremendously if you triple and quadruple that amount of oxygen that you're taking in. That's just simply common sense. But go to Google, go to iTunes, go to Bing, and check the information out. I want to give you some work, and if you're motivated to do this work, then you'll do it. If you're just complacent with me giving you just information and you don't want to take it out for yourself, you're not going to have the motivation to do it. You see that? You'll be cheating yourself tremendously if you don't do this. You might say, okay, if the capacity is 5,700 and I only, take in 1,700 milliliters, when I meditate the proper way, okay, or if I do Qigong or Tai Chi, okay, what happened to the rest? What happened to the other, 90%, you see, or the other, 70%? Well, what happens is you cannot fill up the full capacity. You cannot expel the full amount of residual oxygen and carbon dioxide that remains in the body. But you'll benefit a great deal, okay, by getting the 1,700 to 1,900 or maybe 2,000 milliliters of oxygen. You see that, especially when that excess oxygen is coursing through, the vagus nerve to different brain centers and things of that nature. People say to me, they ask me questions. They said to me, Brother Rob, that's what he used to call me back in the early days of Osada. Said, Brother Rob, how do you learn all this stuff? How are you able to retain all this information? You're writing books on acupuncture and qigong. You're writing books on homeopathic medicine, nutrition, herbalism, meditation, yoga. I said, I breathe. I learned the science of breath. You see that? One of these days, I'd like to share with all of you the Tibetan yogis system of breathing called Dumo. That's the Gtummo, Dumo breathing. The yogis call it Dumo, Dhumo. The Tibetans call it Dumo. Okay, and you should go on Amazon and buy the book. Tibetan yoga. Very, very practical book, but go slowly and be modest and humble in your goals. And I'm telling you this because, there are a lot of articles on YouTube supposedly explaining Dumo breathing, okay? And many of them by supposedly, Tibetan masters who are not teaching it right. They are not teaching the Dumo breathing right. You see that? But the Dumo breathing in this Tibetan yoga is the essence of pranayama. You see that? I'm not going to give you any more right now, okay? Because women just give enough for you to go and do the research. If you're ready, the Spirit will guide you to what you need to know. If you're not ready, the Spirit will hide the truth from you for your own protection. But that Duma breathing is the real deal. I'm going to teach you a breathing tonight that will get you started and take you very, very far. It's called, Zazen breathing. You see that? Zazen breathing. The word Zen is the Japanese for the Chinese word Chen, meaning that Chen is the Chinese word for the cultivation of the breath and health and so forth. You see that? Chinese says Zen. Okay. So the Zazen breathing is nothing else but a modification of the most important form of breathing. In the course, in many courses that I teach, especially in this last course, Maat, the 11 Laws of Health, Wealth, and Success, I teach you to breathe in, okay, pushing the lower abdomen out, and hold the breath at the end of the in-breath. Maintain the tension there as you breathe out, pulling the lower abdomen in, meaning you, in a very relaxed manner, you breathe in, pushing the lower abdomen out. Tense it at the end of the, in-breath, and maintain the tension as you pull the abdomen in on the out-breath. That's the basic breathing, okay? Not only in meditation, but your basic breathing that you should follow in Qigong, in Tai Chi, martial arts, and of course, there are other breathing techniques for explosive movements in martial arts. And I would say to you, get a good teacher. When it comes to those special breath works, you want to have a very good teacher, because breathing, your respiratory system, is combined with your cardiovascular system, and you can damage yourself. The Zazen breathing will not only help your health, it will help your brain, and there's nothing in it that will harm you. We see that. It's best to be modest in our approaches until, the real teacher comes to you, which can come from within or from without, or both. You see that? Don't be in a rush. You cannot rush it. You cannot make the blessings from heavens descend. You have to do the work and, be thankful when you receive it. You receive the blessings. So, that said, the correct way to breathe in meditation is to relax the lower abdomen. That is below the navel. It goes out. You're pushing the lower abdomen out. At the end of the lower abdomen, you tighten the abdomen. Maintain the tighten as you pull it in on the out breath. So on the in breath, your abdomen goes out. On the out breath, the abdomen comes in. What Zazen does, you breathe in, very relaxed abdomen. You tighten it at the end of the in breath, and then now you breathe out in 4 gentle, short, interruptions. Instead of pulling the lower abdomen in at once, you breathe in and you stop. I'm sorry, you breathe out and you're pulling in the abdomen and you stop. Breathe out some more and you stop. Breathe out some more and you stop. They call this bamboo breathing because it looks like the knots on a bamboo cane. You see that? So in a very relaxed manner, you breathe in, pushing the lower abdomen out. Let's say we count to 4 seconds. 1, breathing in, pushing the lower abdomen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tense the abdomen. Pull it in now. Breathe out and stop. Breathe out and stop. Breathe out and stop. Okay, in other words, you're breathing out by pulling the abdomen in. Remember that, right? We don't push the abdomen out on the out breath. We do not pull it in on the in breath. Just the opposite, right? Abdomen. In other words, it's just common sense. The abdomen, the lower abdomen goes out on the in breath to make room for the lungs to fill up. You see that? Okay. And then now we pull in the lower abdomen in 4 stages, in 4 steps. Breathe out and stop. Pull in some more, you stop. pull in some more, you stop. Now at the last at the last two times that you stop, could be three, you could be 3 or 4 segments, you will be feeling pressure, you know, on your in your diaphragm, all the way to the back of your spine. In other words, as if you're gently pulling in your lower abdomen all the way back to your spine. That activates the vagus nerve. It is then that you're going to feel the heat and the warmth. You see that the promise that you get when you do qigong and tai chi and things of that nature. That's why the Chinese called the Tantian the burners, because they generate heat within the body. You see that. So, but what I'm trying to say to you is that you're pushing the lower abdomen out, all the way out, and tense it at the end. Hold on to that tension as you pull the stomach in and stop, pull it in and stop, pull it in and stop. And if you have more air there, pull it in and you stop. You see that? That is sending a tremendous amount of oxygen and heat to the waking centers of the brain. Zazen masters have been known to do this breathing, and their brain goes into delta, meaning 3 beats per second. You see that? I mean, per minute, 3 beats per minute. Very, very slow breath. At the same time, they're registering, in conjunction with the delta brain waves, they're also, registering beta waking brain waves. You see that? In other words, as well as alpha, they're oscillating. The consciousness is oscillating between delta, alpha, and beta. And sometimes it's simultaneously, all three, and theta as well. So all 4 brain, waves are working together in that meditation state. You see that? And this science, warns you against, trying to meditate with those binaural beats. The binaural beats, they advertise on, the different apps, the app stores. Sorry. Let me have some more manuka honey and lemon here. Very healthy stuff. So these binaural beats devices, they slow the brain waves down, but they do not awaken the waking centers. They don't send energy to the waking centers, so you're fooling yourself. You see, you're not getting the benefits of meditation. Many of you, you are responding to these advertisements, thinking that you're doing something, but but you don't know what meditation really feels like until you do the proper breathing. You see that? Okay, it's like somebody says something to me. Oh, you speak German, and I say, oh, we get to see you in Danke. And I said as if I really know what I'm saying about it. And since the person doesn't know German, they think that I know German. So the thing is that yeah. By the way, yes, I studied German in college. I don't know why. I was a piano major at Maat College of Music, and they made me study German to learn the German songs, to accompany singers and things of that nature. So but I didn't keep up with it. 20, thank God. But but what little bit I know, I speak it like I really know how to speak the language. And if you don't know the language, you think that I can speak fluent German. And that's what happens if you have not really experienced meditation, and you're following these teachings like mindfulness meditation, where you're trying to so-called quiet the mind. You see that? Okay. And and there's certain flaws in yoga. Meditation really teach you want to empty the mind. I'll explain that in another class down the road, but it's not emptying the mind. You see that? What you're emptying are the conditionings in your psyche. You're freeing yourself of the conditionings, those thoughts, you see, and visions and words that generate anger and fear and worry. That's what you want to empty. And once you get rid of all of these falsehoods and opinions, what is left is the light of truth and wisdom. You see that? So, where are we now? See if we covered everything for you. So, yes, okay. Now the thing about the vagus nerve, the Hara. If you study, if you have a chance to ever, be under the care of a Japanese, practitioner of Kempo, that's a Japanese traditional medicine. You'll find that they rely more on palpation of your lower abdomen than taking the pulse, the way the Chinese acupuncturists do. Or they might take both, but they rely more on the Hara because they know that the sense of life is in the navel area. You see that? And so to them, the condition of your Hara, your vagus nerve, broadcasts, sends a greater message as to the condition of your health, your healing ability, than the 12 pulses taken, in the arm. But go back and, look up Kempo and Hara on the internet. We have a wonderful opportunity now that we can, for free, go and, if we know what to look for and where to look for, and learn so much. When I was learning these things, I had to spend lots of time at the libraries or spend a lot of money at Barnes and Nobles, the medical division up there, the medical books at Barnes and Nobles. That was where I hung out, and Samuel Weiser's and all of these bookstores spending a mint. But now you have it for free, so take advantage of it. So, I will open up for questions at this point.
Wow. All right. Beautiful. So, while you're getting your questions together, Shekim, you took me back to Metu Neter Volume 1, where you explained this, the capacity of the lung and how we are not taking in anywhere near the capacity of the lung.
Yeah, in other words, you see, besides meditating, if you're in a clean environment, and I will advise you to buy an ear ionizer.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 of them in my living room. Get an ear ionizer, to generate negative ions, oxygen, right? Mm-hmm. And spend half an hour to 30 minutes, just breathing, not necessarily meditating, just breathing, doing the Zazen breathing as is taught in the course that we have a course, correct, that you set up there?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Yeah. Even if you don't have anything to meditate on, breathe. Take more oxygen in. We don't think twice about, drinking some cola, some Coca-Cola,
mm-hmm.
Hint water without fruit, real fruit, but the taste and smell of fruit. We don't think twice about doing those things. We see that. We do them, and then we don't take in the most important alchemical, substance, which is oxygen.
It is so true. And we have so many stories over the years. I've been coaching one of my daughters who's preparing for her MCATs, and she's been working with the Zazen and the breathing techniques, inspired by another student of yours who was able to do very well on the medical exam and then do very well in med school. And just hearing his story about so many doctors or people under pressure to become doctors, how they're relying on, drugs and caffeine, and how he was able to use the breathing techniques that you taught.
By the way, that doctor graduated after just 3 years of medical school.
Right.
He graduated with 3 years of medical school.
Right. Yes. Exactly. And then wasn't so damaged that he could actually even continue his studies in other areas of medicine. So
the Chinese government invited him to come to China, and they were surprised to see a black man knowing so much about Qigong and Chinese medicine.
Right.
They offered him a job to stay in China, which of course he turned down.
Well, we're glad he did. We're certainly glad he did. So we have a couple questions here. So let's see here. We have Maat. She's in the webinar room, and she said, how long should you ideally spend doing these breathing exercises daily?
Okay, if you have the Maat 11 Laws of God course, you've been spending, about 30 minutes a day or more, 30 to 40 minutes or 50 minutes, doing the meditation breathing, right? And then now, if you get the Zazen, what's called the divide, the Zazen class, right? That you put.
Yeah, it's a Zazen
Class.
Zazen stream too.
Yeah, it guides you to do the Zazen, correct?
Mm-hmm. It's about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. So, and the thing is, people have to understand that they have to give a couple of 6 weeks or more before they see many results, spectacular results, let's put it that way here, because the blood vessels have to get wider. You see that? The alveolars, which are the little cells in the lungs that absorb the oxygen and the air, right? They have to get bigger and more receptive to increase oxygen flow. You see that? Okay, so people oftentimes, after 2-3 weeks, I'm not seeing the result, and they give up. I taught a course at La Salle University about some 30-40 years ago, and in 2 weeks, all of the people, it was an evening course, all the people that came were able to lower the blood pressure by 10 points. That was meditating for 15 minutes a day.
Oh,
with Zazen. Yeah. So find your pace, find your work with it.
So the next question is the abdominal tension gentle or very tense when breathing out?
Gentle. The meditation will do everything with gentleness. And your breathing should not be noisy. You see that? Okay, nobody sitting next to you should know that you're breathing even. You see that?
And here's a question about comparing and contrasting the Nadi Shuddhi breathing technique with Zazen.
Well, they have different purposes altogether. The word Shuddhi means purification, and Nadi is the Hindu word for channels. So Nadi Shuddhi is the purification, really taking in a great deal of oxygen to remove obstructions in the channels of our prana, right? Prana is the Hindu word for the chi, the life force. You see that? So so the Nadi Shuddhi is purification Shuddhi of the nadis, the channel of energy. Zazen is the technique that you do to heal, your physiological mechanism, to awaken the awakened centers of the brain, increase your intelligence, and so forth. You see that? Okay.
Very good. And Donovan asks, is it a good sign to feel tightness in the diaphragm area during the in-breath?
No. The in-breath must always be relaxed. The only tightness will come to you at the end of the in-breath, which will be followed by, out breathing by pulling the abdomen in. You see that? And stopping, pulling it some more, and you stop, pulling, and that's expelling the air. You see that? Okay, so the only place where you're going to have some gentle tightness is in the out breath when you're pulling the lower abdomen in. Do not raise the chest. Do not push out the sides of the, by the, your sides, and as taught in some Qigong books and things of that nature.
Okay, this brother's definitely old school. This is Suleiman from Philadelphia, our brother. And he asks, does your lung capacity get smaller when you get older?
Yes, if you don't exercise them. Yeah, and it shows up in your voice, I'll be 80 years old next in another 7 months or so. I don't think I have a quiet little yin voice, As a matter of fact, people says, your voice carries. People can hear you.
All right. And Abina, she's on Facebook with us, and she says, is it a good idea to squeeze the perineum area while doing the meditation technique that you are speaking of?
Well, squeezing the perineum area, okay, that's the sphincter, that that little muscle that if you are urinating, they can stop the flow of urine, right? By squeezing that muscle, right? That's the perineum for those of you who, right, and so on. So and it's part of the so-called Asvini mudra, and things of that nature in yoga, and the Chinese call is part of the turtle, movement, whatever, for longevity, and that is to generate more, sexual energy to course through, the channels that move up the back of the back of your body, right? The Duma channel and things of that nature to circulate that sexual energy, which is nothing else but the life force that has more excitatory energies in it, modalities of energies within it. So you got to understand, we're living at a time when there are a lot of information available, and people get into them not understanding the purpose. You see, so the question is, what is your purpose for using that Vini Mudra? You see, okay? We use it in Qigong a lot, in the Ra Qigong system. We use it in all of the movements of the Ra Qigong system. That's a system that I put together. You see that? Okay, but a lot of Qigong schools don't use that technique ever at all. So it depends on what you want to achieve.
And we have Rohan on the webinar who asks, can the breathing exercises help with controlling ADHD symptoms?
Absolutely. If the person is mature enough to do the exercises properly. You see that if you have ADD or ADHD, you may not pay enough attention to doing the exercise properly. But if you have it to the point where you can pay enough attention to do it, properly, it's going to awaken the brain, because ADD and ADHD is a problem where, when you start to focus your attention on a topic, the brain automatically drops from beta, 23 beats per second, into alpha and delta. You see that? So you become in a stupor, you fall asleep, and that, in other words, you can't focus because the brain frequencies drop on you. And that's what happens. So you can reverse that with, the Zazen. You see that? Let's say you did Zazen, for half an hour, if you can do it the right way, and then you find that you're more awake. You see that?
And Pearl on Facebook, the Zazen is not part of the Maat 11 Laws course. It is an additional soundcast that you can get for $10. That includes the 30-minute guided Zazen practice, as well as a fully explained handout or a document that goes over all of the fine points of what you're getting tonight. So to find that, all you have to do is hit the Discover tab in your app, right? In the Soundwise app, hit the Discover tab, and you'll see the Zazen module is right there for you to get.
And by the way, Zazen is Z-A, one word, Z-A. The next word is Z-E-N. Zazen. Like in Zen Buddhism.
And we also have on Facebook, Oser Tamar. Is it normal to feel almost out of breath when attempting to slow the breathing and taking the long pauses at the end of each inhale and exhale?
Okay, I don't know where he got the long pauses. In my teachings for the Maat 11 laws, we did not say to take long pauses. You see? In other words, you count in, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, tense and breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Don't hold the breath, right? Holding the breath, creates other, problems unless you know how to hold the breath properly. You see that? And, once you begin to hold the breath, you're putting pressure on the flow. You're causing energy, the life force, to flow into other channels that put pressure on them. And many of you who study yoga, you know there's a part of yoga called the bandhas or the binds, where when you are going to hold the breath, you need to bind the breath, with certain bandhas, like Mula Bandha, and stuff like that, right? Uddiyana Bandha, and so on, to prevent the life force from going in to certain channels and putting more pressure on your heart or your lungs or whatever. So do not hold the breath unless you have been taught, the bandhas that go with them.
And Seakut Teba, is it safe to do Zazen in the evening?
That's a very good question. If you don't do it too late, you won't have any problem sleeping. You see that? Okay? If you do it too late, you might have problems sleeping because it wakes up the waking centers of the brain. You see that? Mm-hmm. So I would say no later than 8. If let's say you go to bed at 11 p.m., no later than 8 o'clock. You see that? Okay?
Yeah, while we're on that subject, Shekhem, I recall years ago from the training, you made a point that if, you have circumstances where you were deprived of sleep for whatever reason, how Zazen would help with that. And I've had so much great personal experience with that when, whatever's happened and I haven't been able to sleep, that 30 to 40 to an hour of Zazen, it feels like it reverses that problem.
Well, the medical, and by the way, yes, Zazen and meditation has been studied scientifically. So you might want to Google, scientific studies of meditation, scientific studies of Zazen, and you will find that it has been found that 30 minutes of Zazen detoxifies and removes, toxins from the body, much more toxins in the body than you get from a full night's sleep. So if you did 30 to 60 minutes of Zazen, you will detoxify your body much more than when you go to sleep. So you got to readjust your day to get that time in. You see that? Definitely. And then how to meditate that Zazen. And the brain is very rhythmic. So that $10 course that you have for Zazen, which I will be adding more information to, later on we have some more, webinars for people who buy the product, right? Mm-hmm. So they can learn how to get more out of it. They will find that there's a lot in life that you can accomplish, healing and that's how meditation with the proper breathing heals. It helps to detoxify the body. Mm-hmm. And that helps you in thousands of ways. You see that?
So true. Saket Ra Hitep from Philadelphia, she says, what period of time should we wait to do Zazen if the person has had a cesarean? So they had surgery. Yes,
a week ago.
Yeah, a week ago. Yeah.
Explain, first of all, you shouldn't have any pain left over in that area. Explain the procedure to your OBGYN and get permission from your doctor to do that because you're pushing out the abdomen, you're pulling it in. Mm-hmm. So discuss it because you see people heal differently from cesarean. Right. You see that? Any kind of physical activity, deal with your doctor before you get involved if you had some extreme thing like cesarean.
And what about eating? This person says, should we not perform Zazen after we eat?
Any kind of breathing exercise should not be done on a full stomach. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 3 hours after you eat.
All right, and we are coming up against the hour again. Let's see here. There was one other I missed. And And Sheka Monks on Haas asking, what is the impact of meditation breathing on the external musculature?
Well, there's a saying in Chinese medicine, right? Take care of the yin, the inside, and it will take care of the outside. You see that? The blood and energy that the muscles of external action require is provided by the vital organs. You see that? So if you do things like Zazen and Tai Chi, you will find that your ability to perform physically will improve as time goes along.
All right. Well, yes, some of the other questions are repetitive, or they are definitely answered in the handout that you gave. Shekem in Metu Neter, you gave us a look into the ancient shamanic culture where you talked about the ages, the yugas, and you related them to the things that occur at certain rates of breathing. The track that we have is a certain pacing. Can you share a little bit about how that pacing was chosen and what people can expect by mastering breathing at that rate for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or an
Yeah,
hour?
that rate in that recording that I did for that class, for the Zazen class, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's for beginners.
Mm-hmm.
So they can accomplish the goals, satisfy their expectations, and at the same time not creating harm to them.
Mm-hmm.
You see that? Take your time and so on. And the thing is once people use that system for many weeks or whatever, they will get to the point where they can do the meditation without the recording.
Mm-hmm.
And they will feel the rhythm, the pace. You see that? And as they get better and better at it and strong and healthier, they will naturally slow down the pace. So instead of breathe in, 2, 3, 4, the final says doing breathe in, 2, 3, they will not naturally slow down, but they get there. So you start them off with a guided Zazen meditation, what is on that recording there that you're selling, and things of that nature. You see that?
So if one gets to the point where they feel that they would like to slow down, then it's okay to
turn it. By then they should know how to breathe correctly,
mm-hmm.
how to pace it the right way,
Mm-hmm.
at a slower pace. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, another great session.
By the way, somebody said about feeling tired and needing to take an extra breath or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Feeling out of breath, right?
Feeling out of breath. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And if they are following the recording guided meditation on our recordings, right, they shouldn't feel out of breath. You see that? But if they do, then if they're doing the breathing correctly, and yet they feel out of breath, you see that? I would suggest they go see a pulmonologist.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if something that everybody else does without problems and you have a problem, maybe go have an expert take a look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
Well, like it's opened up saying that, in this world, the youngsters are taken and they're taught, they expect that a well-schooled and cultivated person knows mathematics and to read and write, and write poetry and things of that nature and program computers, but nothing about how to live, how to be healthy, how to be more intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
We had a school, an associate school in Milwaukee, since closed down, but we had a school in Milwaukee, as we did in DC and New York and so on, right? We had a school in Milwaukee, and one of the things that was taught was qigong and the breathing.
Mm.
And when the children were misbehaving, the teacher said, "Okay, time out. Let's do some breathing," and that would calm the children down.
Yes.
You see that? And then, but then there were certain things on the news where in other parts of the country, I think the Midwest, when a teacher introduced breathing techniques to calm the children down and have them perform better, they booted the teacher off the school system for teaching yoga and esoteric sciences to the kids.
Right.
Teaching the kids health, the most important health. But of course, look at what they sell in the school cafeterias, and you will understand.
Right. Well, you actually brought up something I meant to ask you about, because right now, as you know, a lot of our children have anxiety. A lot of our children have depression with everything that's gone on, from the lockdown to the isolation. And now in a lot of our communities, we have this very rampant violence. And a lot of our children, if they haven't been harmed personally, they know somebody or somebody in their family. So can you just touch on that?
Anxiety and depression are not mental issues. They're physical issues. In other words, when you have an anxiety problem, you have a depression problem, the brain is not producing certain neurotransmitters, certain hormones. And that translates into feeling bad, feeling real, suffering type feeling. You see that? A very painful feeling, but it's all physical. And the thing is that meditation, if you meditate long enough properly, it begins to restore those brain functions. You see that? Okay? And to have the brain produce those chemicals, the serotonin, the dopamine, the morphines, the opiates, and the brain creates all of these chemicals. You see that? On the news yesterday was a congressperson, promoting, the use of psychedelic, substances for PTSD. You see that? And okay, it's working, but the thing is that your body produces those same, chemicals that you get from drugs. And the ones that your body produce are better and safer. You see that? Like the mushrooms and things of that nature.
So we need an army of Zazen warriors, it sounds like. We got to get our children and our people doing this Zazen breathing.
What is more humane and divine than to take these young people and teach them meditation? We have this young basketball player getting, brandishing guns and getting kicked off the league, suspended and being punished. The young man has, the guy is like about to make a fabulous wealth, but there's something inside of him he can't control that's making him throw it all away. You see, he doesn't need to be punished. He needs to be taught how to meditate. He needs for someone to sit down with him and meditate with him. And that's what people like Michael Jackson and Prince and all of these people, Whitney Houston, they needed meditation. They needed spiritual culture to restore the health of their brain. Because the brain begins to clamor chemicals that it normally makes. Certain things have thrown it off. The use of recreational drugs will throw off the equilibrium. You see that? The brain says, oh, we have enough of that, so we don't need to make anymore. You see that? You drink the alcohol, you take the opiates, the cocaine or whatever. The brain says, okay, we have the uppers. We made enough. We have more than enough opiates or whatever. So we don't need to make anymore. And what happens then? Now you cannot make the natural hormones and neurotransmitters and messenger molecules, and you go into what we call anxiety and depression. Because it's the society of doctors and scholars, they are not yet ready to learn these things. But I'm so glad these people who are on this webinar tonight, are getting this, because these are bright young people that, let me tell you something, right? There's something called Google Scholar. Go put in Google Scholar, and then inside of Google Scholar, do your research. There's a lot of information out there that tied into what we're teaching will help many of you solve many of the problems that, the man is not solving, because he will not bring something to the foreground unless money can be made from it.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
So last question on this topic. If somebody is currently using drugs, alcohol of any type, will this exacerbate the problem? Is this something they shouldn't do? Is meditation, is there imbalance or intoxication going to open them up to negative effects from meditation?
Over 50 years of Asada said, we have gotten a number of people off drugs through meditation and Qigong and so forth. People with, so-called mental illness have been kept from becoming violent and extreme in their behavior through meditation and Qigong.
Mm-hmm.
Because the meditation process, the Qigong process, if done properly and an extended amount of time, will make the brain start producing those drugs, the opiates and the endorphins. You see that? The feel-good, chemicals,
Mm-hmm.
And when the brain doesn't produce them, you don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So then you know what corner to go to buy yourself some more feel-good. You see that? And then we don't have the money, you start to do criminal acts. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And we need to bring these things to the community and so on. But take the time and learn how to do it the right way. Don't follow these people that they get a smattering of ignorance and they're running out. They're trying to make money, teaching others.
Mm-hmm.
They say that. I'm talking about 50 years of experience.
Yes, sir.
They say that.
All right. Well, I know a lot of us are going to be doing some breathing tonight after this lecture. So thank you so much, Shekau.
Thank you very much.
And on behalf of everyone, there's a lot of appreciation as usual in the chat. We want to bid you a good night and say to you in the Kamitic, yes, sir.
One last thing, right? There are a good number of African American men and women in the community that are doing breath work.
Mm-hmm.
Check them out.
Yes, sir.
And give them your business. Go to them. But many of us want to go to the Western people with names, big names.
Mm-hmm.
When there are many people in the community that have the breath work that have been doing for years, elders doing it for years, teaching it for years, check them out.
Too.
Okay.
All right. In the Kamitic language, we will you power, peace, and blessings, and a good evening. Anetcharak Shekau.
Thank you so much to all of you. Hotep.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Thank you for joining us. I want to remind you that if you're in the Pennsylvania area, the Eastern Seaboard, or if you're on the third planet from the sun and can get on a plane, you may want to come to Philadelphia at the end of this month, the 27th and 28th of the month. We're having an Atefu conference. Atefu is the Kamitic term for father, which is one of the greatest things that our men can become. And this is an event for healing Black men and our sons. And we're going to be doing some Zazen. We're going to be sharing some opiates that we make from our own breathing techniques and teaching it and sharing it and building with each other. So make sure you check that out. I'll put the link in the chat as we close. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And we will see you again soon. Peace and blessings.
Let's go higher in our consciousness. Let's go higher, higher consciousness. Let's go higher in our consciousness. Let's go higher. The time Times come for me to change the way I think, to change the way I feel, for me to go beyond what everybody thinks, what everybody says is real. Today I take a step into a time and space of peace and possibility, and here I'm gonna stay until I find my place, my true divinity. Higher consciousness, let's go higher, higher in our consciousness. Let's go higher, higher consciousness. Let's go higher, come on, in our consciousness. Let's go higher. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with just one step and one idea. I'm moving on, not knowing what is coming next. I'm getting close, I'm getting near to a part of me that touches everything, uniting all reality. I'm the middle between what earth and heaven brings. I am the I am the we. Yeah. Higher consciousness. Let's go higher, higher in our consciousness. Ooh, yeah. Let's go higher, higher consciousness. I'm on my way. Let's go higher. I'm going today. Consciousness. Yeah. Let's go higher. I'm gonna touch the sky with my mind, holding tight. Clouds passing by, clouds passing by. I'm gonna touch the stars. It's not very far. There is no limit to how high I can fly. Let's go higher in our consciousness. Come on, let's go higher. You can go consciousness if you want to. Let's go higher. Let's go higher in our consciousness. Higher consciousness. Oh, yeah. Let's go higher. It only takes one step, one idea. Let's go higher. Let's go higher. Let's go. Let's go higher. Let's go higher. And higher. Consciousness. In our consciousness. Let's go higher. Higher consciousness. Consciousness. Let's go higher. Now is the time. Consciousness. This is the place. Let's go higher. For us to find a peaceful place. Let's go higher. Let's change. Let's rearrange. Let's go higher. All of the things that need to be transformed. Let's go higher. The world now consciousness is no longer against